New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
Good morning, everyone. This is Happy Day on the second Wednesday of August 2018. And welcome to Healthy View, Healthy You. I'm Dr. Lan Young, and with me is Rebecca Shaw, hypnotherapist, and Dr. Stela Susac-Pavic, MD, and general practitioner. And today we are going to talk about families and broad subjects of families, what families mean to us. And I thought I would just start out and talk about the many different ways we can look at families. They can bring us joy, they can bring us challenges, they can push us to grow. And I think that's something the three of us have all discussed in our personal lives. We address new issues with families. And we can look at it from the standpoint of a special needs baby, child, or adult, to an elder care situation, to our own just bringing up of children or our own siblings and how we are within our own family. We're going to touch on estranged families and how we might have friends, dear friends, become our families when we're living in cities where we have no families. And then particularly, we're going to talk about how family health is critical to how we live in the world. Where does family health begin? Who is in charge of it? And how that has changed over the years as our culture has changed. So particularly, who is in charge of the family health? So I thought I would start with my own story because I've been watching myself in the last 10 years probably, as I lived in Arizona. I grew up in South Carolina and then went off to college and kept moving after that to multiple cities, married and lived in Arizona for 34 years and decided to move back to South Carolina. And what happened along that way was no family, immediate family in Arizona. So I have very dear friends who became my family and became my families. So I started counting this morning, and I have 13 families and friends whom I think of as my family. I don't even blink when I think of them. If they needed anything, I would be there, and vice versa. They would respond to me. They'd be on an airplane to see me if they could. They'd drive across the country. There really is a dedication to each other and a real love among us. And we're always in touch. I mean, it may be a month in between or something, but we're in touch. So we're making a point of keeping up with each other. And then I moved back to South Carolina, not having lived here for most of my adult life, and remembered how many family members I have. So I have not just my children who are in other cities, but I have aunts and uncles and cousins and their children, my siblings and their children. And so just this morning I was counting at least 100 without blinking and more. And so that presents another situation as well. How many can I help? How many can I cover? Where do I put my attention? And it brought up a really important subject to me, which is my own health starts with me. And it starts from my understanding what my own needs are and needs for company or alone time or camaraderie, then what I feel that I need to do for my family, then I want to be present for them. So all of those things go into my stress level, how I handle my day, where I plug in different things. And it particularly came up this weekend when my oldest sister had a mild heart attack and ended up getting 2 stents. And I just took it very calmly, but after I realized that she had 2 stents and she had had a mild heart attack, I just was very emotional. So I realized that I keep things at bay and I go about my day and I attend to them and I respond quickly and then I attend to me. So I'm not sure that's the best way to handle health. It's something to discuss. What do y'all think? I mean, chime in here now.
Well, when I think this is a great topic, families. When you asked me earlier about researching it, I said I've been doing that basically my whole life. um, and what strikes me about on the topic of families is that that is the original place where we learn about ourselves through our interactions with each other. You know, there's topics about like your birth order, and I was the oldest, and the role I played being the oldest child, the role I played being the daughter of my mother was the oldest child, and her mother was the oldest child. And so families are a huge area in life where we take on certain identities about ourselves. We're the child, we're the sister, we're the daughter, we're cousins, and all of these things begin to imprint on us, and through our relationships with each other, the reflection of who we are and who we know ourselves to be. And then you take it a step further when you're in family situations where there's a tragedy or a stress, how each person experiences that trauma or upset, how each person responds to it, how your parents respond to it. Many times when I work with clients who are struggling with an addiction, like I had a guy who came in yesterday, he started smoking at age 7. And I knew right then, I said, one of your parents smoked? Yes. So we learn from our families how to cope. And that is a huge one for me, is through our families, we learn healthy coping skills or unhealthy coping skills. I think sometimes even anxiety is passed down through families. So if you have a parent who was a worrier, who was very fearful, then the children, or at least one of the children, tend to take on that habit, like somehow worrying will prevent outcomes. If I worry about this, somehow I can control it. If I worry about my children, I'll keep them safer. They even say nail biting is hereditary. Yeah. So, and then in families, we learn or don't learn emotional fitness. So we're taught even how to respond to our own emotions through seeing how our parents respond to their own emotions and how they respond to our emotions. And so I'm a big, huge proponent for really taking stock of so many of the things that we're struggling with in life. I mean, as a hypnotherapist, a big part of my practice is regression work. And that is going back to the source of where a problem started. And where a problem started is where a belief was taken on about something. And, 9 times out of 10, it's in the family. It's as a child. So there's that part to the family. Then for me, I think something that's been really powerful, I would say, in the past 4 or 5 years is that sometimes we feel betrayed by the family. We feel betrayed by our family, so we will shun the family. We will try to break away. And what happened for me is I had to redefine my definition of family. Who is family to me? And I've really come to believe that family are the people who treat you like family, which would mean the people who treat you with love, respect, kindness, the people that are there for you. And as I've gone through my divorce, I'm still very good friends with my ex, and yet I've really had to stretch my mind and my idea of who family is. And to me, family is my tribe of friends who I can reach out to when in need, when I want to have fun, when I need to process something. So I'm a big believer in family are the people that you make to be family. And I had to do some healing around really being comfortable and vulnerable enough to bring people into my life, into my heart center, without being afraid that I was going to be betrayed by family. So family is so vital and so important, and there's so much to learn through exploring that whole topic.
I agree with you. Stella, we lost you for a minute there.
We lost you, and it can happen again. It looks like my internet connection is a bad. How well do you hear me?
Yes, you're there now. It's good.
Okay, if something happened, please, lady, jump in. Unfortunately, I was lost, Rebecca, for a couple of minutes, and I'm always interested what she can have or say as a psychologist and hypnotherapist and somebody with deep insight of all of our Freud and the Jung and attachment and detachment. So I am looking forward to listen you and hear you again on Facebook Live. Yoo-hoo! I've been thinking about, I start to think about our topic, and I was really trying to, Rebecca, as you said, define what is family. Do I need to define what is family from my personal standpoint or linguistically? So who helped me? It's helped me my 18 years old child when we were sitting and waiting for her to get her driver's license. And I had at the same time 5 other things to be in the next hour or two. So Matteo says to me, Mama, actually, I learned to love you. I decide to love you and other member of my family just actually recently, a year ago. And he's a very specific child. So I says, didn't you love us or care for us before? Then he answered to me that he never think about that, about loving us, caring us for us, but was taking everything for the granted as a parental or like a sister things that needs to be done for her. But the first time that he realized that somebody else is willing to feed her without asking her what to, or is he hungry, is her other sister that went to the store and buy something for her, that so such a small things trigger all the thinking how loved she is and cared by somebody else without asking for something. So he says to me, Mom, I think that that actually a family is a system of the bond and connection, and could be blood or could be, as you says, Len, friend base, or as you says, Rebecca, is somebody that you are not betrayed or you can count on. So this is where I want to pay attention to everybody. No one needs actually to take care of you or not betray you, because every family member or friends in that regard is a person with their own flow, with plus and positive sides of characteristics as well as negative sides. There is no perfect family member, as we are not perfect in our own. We do have a tend to believe in the perfection ideology, religion, and this is something that is leading me through the life. But the family members could be evil, could be liars, could be cheaters, could be saints, could be everything that you can actually name it to classify any other stranger or the person. This is the moment in which we individually, every single one of us, decide how much attachment we want to have with a family member who has a lots of flaws or a lots of goodness. Personally, I don't care what my family members has a positive or negative in their presentation to the world. I just love them. I'm there. I'm there for them, always available. And only things that is distinguishing my, I would say, secondary family away from my nuclear family is how much financially or economically I will reach in that bucket of my life, because we can harm my nuclear family to help them out. Everything else, for my family member, I would unconditionally give, and I wouldn't look on their flaws at all. I don't expect from them to accept me, to be there for me, or not to harm me. I actually accept for them not to be here for me, because they are individual with their flaw, and I do accept from them to harm me, because I met so many people in my life that doesn't matter how old they are, they need to grow spiritually and on the conscious level as well as I have to do, and I can return back and find out multiple situations in which I can react differently. This is family for me. Then I have a family friends. I was about to greet you, hey family. But then I says, but they are my friends. And there is a big difference between hey family and hey friends. Would I actually, if I see the flow in either one of you, be so acceptable as I am toward my family? Jesus says yes. Says love your neighbor as you do love yourself. So I do believe if we can actually approach our neighbors and society as a family member on the gently way, on the way on which I look on the family, without any expectation from them except happy for them that they're alive and they are there, I think our society could go further. We would never say anything badly or rudely or that to family member, or try not to say. So I think we should bring that to the world that we are walking into. Am I naive? My friend calling me that my good friends that they are actually almost my family member. They call me Stela Pavic Generalic. Generalic is a painter, naive painter that never went to academy, but was painting beautiful nature things, and like, so they calling me naive. So am I naive, guys?
That's actually quite a compliment. Because you live your life without expecting the worst of people. You manifest the good. And I think that's really, really important. I was thinking further, I like that we all talked about a little bit of our families and where we are with them. I want to switch a little bit well, there's so many subjects. This is a huge subject, but I want to take a little bit of what you said, Stella, when you mentioned a sister doing something for another sister without asking, getting her something to eat, knowing she would like that, and it was something she wanted. And that sort of underlying connection. There are their chords. We're connected. We're connected because we come from the same parents. We're connected because we live together, and our parents connect us because they're taking care of us. Well, I remember reading this book, and I wanted to mention it. I was really taken by it because I'm very interested in the metaphysics of how we exist on Earth and how we communicate with other spheres and places, and feel very strongly that exists and is strengthening during this time with all the planet changes. But this one book is by a neurosurgeon, and I thought I had written it down. I'm not sure where I wrote it. I must have been, here. It's called Proof of Heaven by Eben Alexander, and I don't know if you've read it. I think, Rebecca, you're nodding your head, but it came out several years ago. He's a neurosurgeon in North Carolina, actually, and I don't know what virus he got. It might be that one. Anyway, it crippled him immediately, rapidly, within days, and it can be fatal. You probably know the one, Stella. It's not always recognized, and it has two names, Guillain-Barré or Barré or something.
Oh, Guillain-Barré. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So whether it's that one or another one, this neurosurgeon became very ill very rapidly, went into intensive care, and his family, his immediate family, his children and his wife, determined that they would stay 24 hours. Two people would be with him and have their hands on him. So the energy of life would be touching him because he was almost gone. I mean, it can be fatal, and some people survive and then takes about a year to come back. Well, it lasted for, I think they did this for over a week. I can't remember the exact amount of time that it was, but it was very impressive because some cousins came to town, and extended family came in to be able to sit there for the full 24 hours. It's a long time. And they kept talking to him. Come back to us. Eben, come back. We want you to be here. Come back. And in his book, he writes about hearing them, going to a place of light where he was so happy he had no desire to come back. So he was already out of his body on his way to heaven, if you want to call it that, or wherever he was going to go. And everyone wanted him to stay. His family on earth loved him enough that they were all there for him, and actually manifested a ritual of a sort to talk to his spirit and energetically give energy to his body so that he didn't go away. So he decided, he said he remembered deciding to come back into his body. And it was a very difficult thing. And then he woke up. He couldn't wait to tell his story. So this is a scientist who really went by the book as a neurosurgeon. Everything was scientifically based. It changed his whole way of being because he saw that there was a whole aspect of spirit and of otherness that he had to understand and address because he had been there. So if you have a chance, take a look at his book. It's called Proof of Heaven, and it's by Eben Alexander. And I think what affected me the most was the family committing to staying with him until which time he either came back or decided not to come back. And I think that was really, really fabulous. So I don't know if you've had any experience with that, Stella, in your practice.
I have experience with the decision. I have this experience with a decision of all of those people who decide to stay with him and spend their times with them, with the gentleman on the sick bed. This is what I think as a doctor, as a providers, that is very much missing in our society. We tend to put our economical and financial well-being in the front of so many things that we are not aware of how much we're missing. I do have children that very often come to my home who would share that their parents are fantastic providers financially for them because they learn that they need to push the children through the colleges and help them to be financially independent. But they are lacking and missing emotional support of the same parents. That means, what that means, emotional support from the parents or people around us, and what that means for individual that we are calling family or friend. That means that we know that person, that we communicate with that person, that we are what I says a bad human characteristic and a good human characteristic, but we are aware of those things from each other and decide to accept them, decide to wait, decide on gentle way to be taught and teach other to maybe change those things toward the better outcome or occurrence. Be patient and be decisive. So that's what I know, Len and Rebecca. I think it's a decision. That's something that we start with everything in our life. Decision to stop smoking, then go to Rebecca for hypnotherapy. Decision to find a partner and then search and visualize who is that person. Decision to work hard, pray hard for the family member who is in a need or spiritually lost. It's a decision of those people. That's what is known to me. Everything else, I hope I will not experience and write down the book about me going to the light and coming back.
Yes, no, I hope you don't either.
Because when I'm gone, I'm gone. Don't talk to me.
while, Stella. It'll be a while.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I love research.
So that's funny. Well, I think you're right about that. Culture has changed so dramatically since the 1950s.
Culture, yeah.
Yeah, well, certainly in America, I'm saying, but in Europe as well. And actually, I imagine Asia is really shifting because some of their very defined lenses are changing, as in Japan. You know, they really were only of their culture, and many of their residents are starting to marry outside of the Japanese culture, which was never done for thousands of years. It was a very pure society. So it's changing. That's changing a lot. Well, so Rebecca, you have shifted. You've been going through this shift with your family in that your children, that y'all are living separately. I've certainly done that as well. And that's a change in what family is and how it affects children and how they mirror that out in the world and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something you said about the Evan Alexander story.
Mm-hmm.
I recently watched a YouTube video with Greg Braden, who's a scientist, researcher, leader in New Thought, spirituality. And he talks about the power of people to heal each other, our family, our tribes. And somewhere in Asia, perhaps China, they showed this video of a person who had a tumor, I think on the kidney, and they were in real time using, what do you call it, Stella, where you can see inside the body.
Ultrasound or CT, guided imaging.
Yeah, ultrasound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of some kind of guided ultrasound or something. So you could see up on the screen the size of the tumor. And then they brought in these 3 energy healers, and they were standing over the person, sending them Reiki energy or some kind of pranic energy for healing. And then the 3 people, they're trained to do this. There's actually, I think this is in China, there are hospitals where you can go where it's all natural healing, and these people are professionals at what they do. So they're standing around this person, and they are saying, they're chanting, already healed, already healed, already healed. And literally in real time, you see the tumor shrinking. It is just mind-blowing. Yeah, I need to Google and find that YouTube video, and I want to post it everywhere I can because it was just blowing me away. But it was, I think that speaks to the power of like prayer circles.
Mm-hmm.
Our families are also, you know, through churches and our support groups like that. And that is just an amazing thing to, you know, I think we hold space for our families in one way or another. You know, when my son was younger, he was one of those very oppositional young boys, and I felt like part of my role as mother and part of his family was to hold space for him to evolve to his highest good and to be happier. And you know, as a family, as a collective, we can write someone off. Oh, that person's never going to stop drinking. Oh, that kid is just going to get worse. And so as family, we have an amazing power to collectively come together and hold space for someone's
That's
healing,
beautiful.
for someone's ascension, for someone moving past a problem. And yet what we tend to do is, like I said, just write people off. And then if you know that, you know, what I like to do is if someone's struggling, I do not feel sorry for that person. I don't pity that person, because I feel like if I pity that person, I'm holding them in the what is. And on some level, I am believing that that person is stuck and cannot evolve to a higher place or a healthier place. So I feel like I have a role as someone who's in this person's life, whether it's a client or a family member or a friend or even a stranger I meet on the street, I have a sacred role to hold space that, and in my mind, in my vision, in my prayer, in that moment, to believe that they can evolve and to a higher place to be happier and healthier.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You
Yes.
remind me for the certain people also in my family, then I would personally be angry for long period of the time, or even talk to somebody else badly about that person. And then in one moment I decide and realize exactly what you're talking about. That is not my, that I'm not here to judge or to be angry or have negative emotion toward the person, but to visualize and hope that the person will grow to the higher themselves, and hopefully that they will be merciful toward me in my flaws when I find myself that I do not realize, because in the moment when we realize our flaws, we are halfway through. So that's beautiful, Rebecca, to collectively come together for the family members who is actually there to connect us. So I'm going to work on something right now that I plan to do, or planning to do, or occasionally doing, to get my family, try to get us together on that dining table, not for the dining, but for the sharing and collectiveness and togetherness. Because it's definitely powerful things to get together and play and be for each other there.
I agree with that.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah. And actually, when we were, when I was growing up in Charleston, we would finish school at 10 minutes to 2, walk home and have a sit down dinner. And my father would come home at 2 o'clock. And from 2 to 3, we had dinner. So it was a late dinner. And we had a full course meal. And you know, I just remember it. We were always together sitting there. And we tried the supper at night when Daddy had some change to something he was doing. It never really worked out to get the family together because Daddy couldn't always get home then. But when he was working on downtown, he could walk home when we came home from school. It was an amazing thing. It was a very Southern thing.
I think that's something that we forget, and the system of the economical and financial priority put us in the position that to put ourselves and then our family as a secondary news product. So I think it's really we as individual and society needs to work on the shorter work time. So the family should be at home by 3, and a better pay on expense of those 1% of the population who is enormously rich. So that because on that way we have a growing society, on that way we have a family in which parents can teach the children to recycle and try to save the world from what we're doing to the world right now. The family is exceptionally important. Togetherness is exceptionally important.
So, you know, I wanted to bring up something that I do on a regular basis, and you're both probably aware of the telepathic healing work that I've done for many years, but that any individual can do this is very easy. So in quantum physics, you know, they have actually proven in physics that if you have a light on a candle, that they can take that light and split that light, and they can split it to 9 places, and that same light can be present in 9 places at the same time. So they have seen they could do it in 10 places, and once you get to 10, the multiples of 10 makes it infinite. And so that's the quantum theory, that you can be in more than one place at once. And so I work on that. I mean, I've always done that. So if I know 8 or 10 people, and I'm constantly working, and this is quietly in my own mind and in my own heart, I will go to someone and I will cover them with light from me, sending them love, and I will just empower them with that light and that love to get through whatever they're doing. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just empowering them, giving them my support. So it's in prayer, it's in meditation, it's in whatever form you believe or you want to define what you're doing physically and in science, we can do this. So I will go to someone and then I will see myself there with them, empowering them, not speaking, but just giving my love, and then I will leave it. And so I know that I'm working at another place quietly while I'm on the show with y'all, or while I'm doing my work during the day, or having a visit with my mother or my sister or whoever, whatever I'm going about doing. I can do that in as many places as I want because it's infinite. And so if anybody gets to the place where you know there's someone you really wanted to go visit at the hospital, or you really wanted to stop and see a friend, or you wanted to send them something or call them and you haven't had a chance, if you sit quietly and envision them in your head and surround them with your arms, just give them a hug in your head, they will feel that. You must release it. I mean, you just sort of then say, okay, if you want to sit there and hold it for yourself, then you'll feel that. That's really great too. But if you release it and move back from it, they'll feel it. They may not feel it right then. It depends on energy lines and how quickly they'll receive it, but they will receive it. And they'll probably think of you and they'll feel loving thoughts of you. And it really is a powerful way to contribute something to someone's life.
There is a two saints in the Catholic Church that I know about: Saint Pio, and Saint Benedict. There is a script about their life, and they claim that they can be on multiple places for the healing at the same time. So it's interesting to me that you are going through the quantum physics and from different sources coming to the similar things. And I was thinking, when I was reading through those, I like to read about their life, and there was so many mystical things that as a scientist, underlying I'm a scientist, I was says, come on, you know, now we are going to the craziness, but it's interesting to hear, and there are stories through the Christian saint life that they were able to come and heal on different places. And if you look in the really essence of the Holy Spirit that is in all of us, it's exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Intimate hug and love and acceptance. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it puts us in a new place, or in another place, as the world is evolving, and what we see in front of us it doesn't have to be what we create. As a matter of fact, we can create a different world and hold that in our thoughts, and that can become our world. So it's about manifesting and about making choices again, choosing what sort of world we want to live in, and how we're going to go about getting that to happen, creating that.
In that name, really, will is something that we need, because every human being has a will, has a desire, let's put it like that, to be the best. But the will is that we are leaking and missing. So practically, my wish is to strengthen the will of all of this, my family, friends, and stranger, to do what it's necessary to do, to be them the best for themselves, to search who they are and where they want to go.
So I just want to ask one other thing too. This is a little off subject, but since we're doing this, Deepak Chopra wrote in one of his books, and it's sort of proven in science, I guess you will know this, Stella, that every 7 years or 8 years, something like that, we create new cells. All the cells in our bodies change every 7 years. And what Chopra wrote was, if you have an illness or a memory that was particularly painful, we can hold those in our body and carry that from 7 years to 7 years to 7 years. But you don't have to, according to him. And it's a very interesting thing, because that places an enormous responsibility in our hands and a power for us to change the way we live, change the way we
live.
So I want to say that now, as after what we've talked about, that we're very powerful beings from a healing standpoint. we can heal ourselves. Very often we look outside of ourselves for that healing power, and it does take some strength. However, we've got that light in us, and if our light is just quieter, all we have to do is strengthen that light, and then we can heal ourselves.
So that's maybe interesting things, lady, for our next situation. How to sell, how to change the cells.
Oh, okay. So that's a good idea. How to change
the tissue, how to.
So Rebecca, you look like you've had some thoughts running through your head, and Stella and I just chatting away here.
No,
It's
no.
always like that.
No, I'm doing it too.
Yeah. Well, no, it's like, it's like watching YouTube videos. You can go down so many rabbit holes. So many things you're saying are like, just making other things pop for me. But I think it's really important to really think about your relationships. Do they nourish you? Or do they take away your energy? And if they do take away your energy, really think about why. And it may not mean that you need to let this person go out of your life, but maybe you need to draw more boundaries. Maybe you need to speak your truth more. So many people feel suppressed or repressed in their relationships, and so much of it is just being fearless, being unapologetic for who you are and what you have in your heart, and not being afraid that people are going to reject you for that. Because truthfully, I think the more unique you express yourself, you're going to naturally just attract the people that support you and love you and your uniqueness. And so be unapologetic with how you feel and what you think, and attract who that's going to attract.
Speak your truth. That's beautiful, Rebecca. That I'm going to bring a little bit more. I'm going to give to that little bit more power, because always, trying not to harm, but actually you harming more if you are taking more than you can do, or if you are not speaking the truth to that person. We need to be a little bit more blunt, yes.
And truthful, I guess. Kind. I think kindness at the base of it. And, going back to families, I find some families can be incredibly kind to their family members, and others not so. And it's interesting to watch it. And I think a lot of that's learned, and maybe it's experiences in life that tend to make families do that. But we have just a few minutes, and I think we might touch on estranged families. And I don't want to leave us on a downward slope, because it's so wonderful to think about being powerful in what we do in healing. But I'm saddened by the estranged, when I realize somebody is not in touch with their family, and yet I don't know their situation. I mean, maybe it was a self-preservation reason that they have split from their family because they would die otherwise. And it could be an emotional crutch or something that's going on. But if there was some misunderstood situation and they're estranged, it makes me sad that they can't patch that up. So I don't know, do you have a few quick things to say? We have literally a minute left if somebody has a comment about looking at life and thinking about what people in your life have to do with you as you're living.
I would do everything for my family member. I will put myself on my knee and give all of my personality and patch the wound as much as possible. I just need a little bit light from other side to work on it. So that's me. That's the power that I do have in myself, given by God. There is nothing I will that I wouldn't do to. Of course, we are not going into dark side. We are going into the normal dispute that may happen and misunderstanding. I hope I will never have experience from something worse. I don't have it. I don't have insight from that side.
Okay. Rebecca, do you have anything to say?
Just enjoy your time. We're still in the summer months, and get outdoors, make memories with people that you love. Your children, your family members will remember going to the beach, going to the park, um, you know, taking those vacations, going to hear music together at your local place where you can do that outdoors or whatever. People will remember those memories more than gifts and things. So make memories with your family.
That's a great ending. All right, great. Thank you, everyone. We'll see
Thank
you
you,
the
ladies.
second Wednesday of next month. And school's on the way. Have a good day.
Have a
Bye,
good day.
everyone.
Bye.